Hi, everyone. Before we get into this audiobook, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button and drop a like. It helps me out a lot as well as contributes a lot to the channel. Now let's get into the story. I hope you enjoy the moon hung like a silent, watchful eye over the sprawling territory of the Crescent Moon Pack, casting silver light across the ancient forest and illuminating the rough-hewn timber of our pack house. My heart thrummed with an ancient longing, a primal anticipation that had been building since my first shift, since the moment I truly understood what it meant to be a werewolf. My name is Lyra, and I was unmated, just like my twin sister, Iris. We were both on the cusp of womanhood, both yearning for the fated connection, the elusive mate bond that would solidify our place in the pack and in the world. The air was thick with expectation, for the time of the Alpha's choosing was upon us. The Alpha, Orion, was a creature of raw power and undeniable charisma. His black fur, sleek as polished obsidian in wolf form, and his piercing golden eyes commanded respect and admiration. He was formidable, a true leader, and the thought of being his fated mate sent shivers of both apprehension and excitement down my spine. The mate bond, a mystical connection whispered about in legends, was said to be unbreakable, a force that tethered two souls together for eternity. It manifested as an undeniable pull, a snap of recognition that resonated deep within the very core of one's being. When an unmated alpha felt it, the entire pack sensed the ripple, a vibration of power that spoke of destiny unfolding. My sister, Iris, possessed a beauty that was often compared to the fragile luminescence of moonlight. Her silver blonde hair, so like my own, framed a face of delicate features, her eyes a startling violet that seemed to hold all the secrets of the forest. We were twins, yet so different. Where I was grounded, practical, and a fierce hunter, Iris was ethereal, gentle, and more attuned to the subtle currents of emotion that flowed through the pack. Despite our differences, our bond as sisters was profound, woven from shared childhoods and unspoken understandings. We had always dreamed of finding our mates, of building lives within the pack, and often, in hushed whispers during sleepless nights, we spoke of the Alpha. There was no rivalry, only a shared hope, a quiet understanding that fate would choose whom it chose. The annual mating ceremony was a tradition as old as the pack itself, a sacred event where unmated wolves gathered, hoping to feel the undeniable tug of the mate bond. It was a time of heightened senses, of raw anticipation, when the air crackled with primal energy. This year, the ceremony felt particularly significant. Alpha Orion, after years of focusing solely on his duties, had declared his readiness to find his Luna, the female who would stand by his side and share the burden and glory of leading the Crescent Moon Pack. I remember the scent of pine and damp earth, the flickering torches casting dancing shadows on the faces of the assembled wolves. My own heart pounded against my ribs, a wild drumbeat anticipating its destiny. Iris stood beside me, her hand a reassuring warmth in mine, her eyes wide with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. The Alpha stood tall on the ceremonial stone, his golden eyes sweeping over the crowd, searching, waiting. Every unmated female held her breath, hoping his gaze would linger, hoping to feel that fabled snap. And then it happened. A tremor, subtle at first, then growing into an undeniable jolt, surged through the pack. It wasn't just a feeling, it was a physical sensation, a deep resonance in my very bones, a profound recognition that echoed the ancient pulse of the earth. My breath hitched. This was it. This was the mate bond. It was a searing, electrifying connection, a jolt of pure belonging that felt as if a missing piece of my soul had finally slotted into place. My wolf surged within me, howling with pure, unadulterated joy. I felt a dizzying sense of euphoria, my vision blurring at the edges as the world shifted, coalescing around this singular, magnificent truth. But then, the euphoria fractured. The intense, joyous surge of the bond, the one that had just claimed my very essence, abruptly shifted, twisting into something agonizingly wrong. The powerful magnetic pull, instead of settling firmly on me, veered sharply, violently. My wolf whimpered in confusion and pain, a sharp, disorienting agony ripping through my chest. The connection was there, undeniable, a burning thread leading directly to Alpha Orion, but its trajectory had been forcibly altered. Alpha Orion's golden eyes, which had been sweeping across the crowd, had initially locked onto mine. I felt it, saw it, the flicker of recognition, the dawning understanding in his gaze, a mirroring of the profound bond that had just snapped into place within me. But then, almost imperceptibly, his eyes darted, his head tilting just slightly, following the unnatural swerve of the bond. His powerful form, which had been oriented directly towards me, subtly angled, drawn by an invisible, yet potent, force. And then he looked at her. He looked at Iris. The recognition in his eyes, which had first been for me, now settled upon my sister, mirroring the same intensity, the same dawning awareness I had just experienced. The primal snap, which had resonated within my very soul, now seemed to embrace Iris, wrapping around her with an undeniable force. Her eyes, wide with surprise, slowly softened, a blush creeping across her cheeks as a radiant smile bloomed on her face. She felt it. She felt the bond that was meant for me. A wave of nausea washed over me, cold and sickening. My wolf, which had been howling in joy, now recoiled, whimpering in confusion and profound pain. The bond was a razor-sharp wire, still connected to me, still undeniable, but now stretched taut, vibrating with agony because its rightful destination had been usurped. It was a physical torment, a spiritual violation. Someone had interfered. Someone had twisted fate itself. The euphoria was gone, replaced by a cold, dreadful certainty. This wasn't right. This was never meant to be. The world reeled. The celebratory murmurs of the pack swelled into a joyous roar as Alpha Orion, his golden eyes alight with recognition, strode directly towards Iris. He didn't hesitate, didn't glance back, his powerful form moving with an unerring certainty towards what he believed was his fated mate. Iris, bathed in the moonlight, stood frozen for a moment. Then, as he reached her, her face erupted into a radiant, almost ethereal smile. His hand, large and warm, cupped her cheek, and the air around them shimmered with the undeniable power of their newly declared bond. The pack cheered, their happiness a deafening cacophony that drowned out the quiet scream of my own wolf. I stood there, a ghost amidst the celebration, invisible, unheard. The pain was a physical entity, a relentless gnawing agony in my chest. The mate bond undeniably snapped to me first, now felt like a cruel tether, pulled taut and stretching to its breaking point as it bypassed its true target and embraced Iris. It vibrated with a dissonant hum, a painful echo of what should have been. My wolf, usually a fierce and proud creature, was curled in a fetal position within me, whimpering, confused, and deeply wounded. It was a violation of its very essence, a denial of its primal right. The celebration swirled around me, a vortex of joy and congratulation that felt utterly alien. Elders approached Iris, offering blessings. Young wolves howled their approval. Even my parents, their faces beaming with pride, rushed to embrace Iris, their voices choked with happiness. No one saw me. No one heard the silent shriek of my bond, the agony that was ripping me apart from the inside out. They saw only the Alpha and his new Luna, radiant and destined. I stumbled away from the celebratory throng, the sense of joy and belonging suddenly sickening. My mind raced, trying to grasp what had just happened. The mate bond was inviolable, sacred. It didn't just shift. It didn't just transfer. Unless someone had interfered. Someone had possessed the power and the malice to twist destiny itself. But who? And why? The questions clawed at my mind, mingling with the relentless pain of the ruptured, yet still tethered bond. I found myself at the edge of the forest, the familiar darkness offering a strange, bitter comfort. My limbs trembled, my entire being consumed by the emotional and physical torment. The bond, meant to be a source of strength and belonging, was now a source of exquisite agony. A constant reminder of what had been stolen. My wolf, restless and agitated, clawed at the confines of my human skin, desperate to shift, to run, to escape the unbearable pain. I stumbled deeper into the trees, the scent of damp earth and ancient pines filling my nostrils, a familiar comfort that grounded me amidst the chaos within. The moon, now high above, seemed to mock me with its indifferent gaze. I closed my eyes, trying to block out the image of Orion and Iris, his hand on her cheek, the radiant smile on her face. The image was seared into my mind, a cruel tableau of my stolen destiny. The pain intensified, a sharp, searing fire that threatened to consume me. It was too much. I crumpled to the forest floor, clutching my chest, gasping for breath. This was not just emotional anguish. It was the raw, primal agony of a violated bond, a broken promise etched into my very soul. My wolf snarled within me, frustrated, confused, desperate for release. I let it take over. The shift was agonizing, my bones grinding, my muscles tearing, but the release was immediate, a momentary respite from the torment. I stood on 4 paws, my body sleek and black as midnight, my fur bristling with a mixture of grief and fury. My senses sharpened, the night sounds of the forest filling my ears, the myriad scents of the nocturnal world assaulting my nose. My wolf howled, a long, mournful cry that echoed through the silent trees, a lament for a stolen future, a denied connection. It was a cry that went unheard by the joyous pack, a solitary sound of profound loss in a world that now celebrated my sister's triumph. My mind, however, was already turning. The pain was still there, a dull ache beneath the surface, but it fueled a cold, sharp resolve. Someone had done this, and I would find out who. The following days were a blur of enforced normalcy, a cruel pantomime of celebration and joy from which I felt utterly detached. The pack house, usually a bustling hub of activity, now vibrated with the excited energy of wedding preparations. Iris, radiant and seemingly oblivious to my internal torment, was constantly surrounded by pack members, sharing her joy, discussing details of the upcoming Luna ceremony. My parents, still beaming with pride, were swept up in the festivities, their attention entirely focused on their radiant daughter, the chosen Luna. I moved through it all like a phantom, my presence acknowledged only in passing, my silence interpreted as quiet acceptance, my forced smiles as genuine happiness. The pain of the bond, a constant, dull throb now, was a relentless reminder of the injustice, fueling a cold fire of determination within me. I spent my days in the Pack library, poring over ancient texts and scrolls, anything that spoke of mate bonds, of their intricacies, of their inviolability. The old tomes, brittle with age and filled with forgotten wisdom, became my sanctuary, my desperate attempt to find answers, to understand how the sacred bond could be manipulated. The legends were consistent. A true mate bond was unbreakable, unchangeable. There was no mention of it shifting, of it rerouting to another. This only solidified my conviction that outside interference had occurred. But how? What kind of power could twist the very fabric of fate? My focus quickly narrowed to powerful arcane magic, the kind whispered about only in the darkest corners of Pack lore. Elder Maeve, the Pack's oldest and wisest healer, was a keeper of such secrets. Her small hut, tucked away at the edge of the forest, was a place of reverence and mystery, filled with the scent of herbs and ancient knowledge. I knew she might hold answers, but approaching her required caution. She was keenly attuned to the subtle energies of the Pack, and my own internal turmoil, the agonizing discord of my violated bond, might reveal too much, too soon. One afternoon, feigning a need for a headache remedy, I ventured to Maeve's hut. The air inside was warm and heavy, filled with the comforting scent of dried herbs and simmering potions. Maeve, her face a tapestry of wrinkles, her eyes sharp and knowing, greeted me with a gaze that seemed to pierce right through my carefully constructed facade. She offered me a soothing tea, her movements slow and deliberate, her silence speaking volumes. "Your spirit is troubled, child," she said, her voice raspy with age, yet surprisingly clear. A discordant note in the Pack's harmony. A wound that festers unseen. Her words sent a shiver down my spine. She knew. She sensed the agony of the bond, the unnatural twisting of my destiny. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my racing heart. "Maeve," I began, choosing my words carefully. "I've been reading about mate bonds. Are they truly unbreakable? Can they ever be influenced?" Maeve's gaze sharpened, her eyes fixing on mine. She didn't answer directly. Instead, she rose and walked to a hidden compartment behind a tapestry, retrieving a small leather-bound book, its cover worn smooth with age. The symbols etched into its surface seemed to pulse with a faint, ancient energy. "There are old magics, Lyra," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Dark magics that seek to twist the natural order. Magics that deal in compulsion, in illusion, in the manipulation of primal forces. They are forbidden for a reason. Their use carries a terrible price." She opened the book to a specific page, its yellowed parchment covered in intricate diagrams and arcane symbols. My eyes widened as I recognized a familiar symbol, one I had seen etched faintly on the ceremonial stone where the Alpha's bond had snapped. It was a symbol of forced binding, of redirection. "But what about the mate bond itself?" I pressed, my voice urgent. "Can it be rerouted? Can one soul be bound to another against fate?" Maeve looked at me, her gaze holding a profound sorrow. "The mate bond, Lyra, connects two souls. It is a spiritual tether. It cannot be truly broken, not by external means, but it can be obscured, it can be redirected. Through powerful, dark arts, one can create an illusion, a false resonance that masks the true bond and draws the recipient towards another. It is a temporary solution, a deception that can eventually unravel, but in the moment of bonding, It is potent enough to fool even and Krat. Alpha. Her words hit me like a physical blow. An illusion. A deception. My stomach churned with a mixture of anger and a grim confirmation of my darkest suspicions. And the consequences? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. A bond created through such deception will never truly settle, Maeve explained, her voice grave. It will always carry a discordant hum, a subtle wrongness that will eventually manifest in disharmony, in illness, in an imbalance within the pack itself. And for the one whose bond was truly meant to be, the pain is constant, a wound that can only heal when the truth is revealed and the deception broken. My heart ached with the confirmation of my suffering, but a new emotion surged through me, a cold, resolute fury. Someone had dared to tamper with fate, to inflict such pain, and to deceive the entire pack, including Alpha Orion. And that someone was likely within the pack itself. Who would possess such knowledge? I asked, my gaze scanning the ancient text. And the power to enact it? Maeve closed the book, her eyes meeting mine with a knowing intensity. Such knowledge is rare, Lyra. It is not something one simply stumbles upon. It is sought out, cultivated in the shadows, often for selfish gain. Think, child, who benefits most from this deception? Who desired this core? Outcome above all else? The answer, though still shrouded in uncertainty, began to solidify in my mind. The pieces were slowly falling into place. The pain of the bond, the injustice, the yearning for truth, now fueled a burning desire for retribution. I would uncover the truth, no matter the cost. My sister's stolen mate, my own violated destiny, demanded it, and the harmony of the pack, unknowingly built on a foundation of deceit, depended on it. The Luna ceremony was set for the next full moon, barely 2 weeks away. The pack house buzzed with a frenetic energy, a stark contrast to the simmering tension beneath my own skin. Iris, glowing with an almost unnatural happiness, floated through the preparations, her laughter echoing through the halls. I watched her, a complex mix of emotions churning within me. Sisterly love battling with the bitter resentment of a stolen future. Could she truly be so oblivious to the deception? Or was she complicit? The thought gnawed at me, a cruel parasite feeding on my trust. My investigation began subtly, almost imperceptibly. I started observing Iris, not as a sister, but as a detective. I noted her new habits, her subtle changes. She spent more time with Elder Maeve, ostensibly for pre-Luna spiritual guidance, but I saw the lingering questions in Maeve's eyes, the knowing glances she cast my way. I noticed Iris had developed a newfound interest in ancient pack lore, particularly texts that dealt with spiritual connections and rituals. She often carried a small, leather-bound journal, its pages filled with neat, hurried script. It was a mundane detail, but one that pricked at my suspicion. My path also led me to the pack's former beta, Elias. Elias had been a formidable warrior, a close confidant of the previous Alpha, and a respected elder in his own right. He had retired from active pack duties years ago, choosing a quiet life on the outskirts of the territory, but his wisdom was still sought by many. He possessed a keen understanding of pack politics and the subtle undercurrents of ambition that often flowed beneath the surface of communal harmony. I knew he had a sharp eye for deception, a finely tuned sense for when something was amiss. I found Elias tending his small herb garden, his gnarled hands meticulously weeding. The scent of rosemary and lavender filled the air. He looked up as I approached, his gaze unwavering, instantly perceptive. "Lyra," he said, his voice deep and calm. "A heavy shadow follows you. Tell me what troubles your spirit. I hesitated, choosing my words carefully. I couldn't outright accuse Iris without proof, and I couldn't reveal the details of the twisted mate bond without sounding like a madwoman. Instead, I spoke generally, testing the waters. Elias, do you believe in fate? In true mate bonds? Or do you think they can be influenced? Elias paused, pulling a particularly stubborn weed from the soil. The mate bond is sacred, Lyra, a gift from the moon goddess. It connects souls. But, he continued, his eyes meeting mine, a knowing flicker in their depths, there are always those who seek to twist fate to their own will. Ambition can blind even the wisest, and desperation can lead to unthinkable acts. His words were a confirmation, a subtle validation of my suspicions. Did you notice anything unusual before the mating ceremony? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Any odd occurrences? Any unusual visitors? Elias's brow furrowed in thought. There was a strange elder who visited the pack, perhaps a month before the ceremony. Not one of ours. Claimed to be a nomadic healer, seeking rare herbs. He spent a great deal of time with Iris, I recall. She seemed quite taken with his unconventional wisdom. My heart pounded. A nomadic elder, a healer, one who dealt in unconventional wisdom. The pieces were starting to fit, forming a chilling mosaic. What was his name? I pressed, my voice urgent. Elias shook his head. He never gave one, that I heard. He was just the elder. He had a peculiar tattoo on his hand, though, a swirling symbol, like a knot. He demonstrated with his gnarled fingers. My blood ran cold. It was the same symbol I had seen in Maeve's ancient text, the symbol of forced binding. I thanked Elias, my mind racing. The nomadic elder, Iris's sudden interest in ancient lore. The symbol of forced binding. It was too much to be coincidence. But who was this elder? And why would he help Iris? My investigation also led me to the pack's youngest and most gossipy female, Willow. Willow, a flighty but generally good-natured wolf, was known for her uncanny ability to gather information, often unintentionally. She was always privy to the latest whispers, the hidden currents of pack life. I found her polishing silver for the upcoming ceremony, her tongue flapping endlessly about the seating arrangements. Willow, I said, feigning casual interest. Iris seems so happy. She's been spending a lot of time with Elder Maeve, hasn't she? Willow giggled. Oh, not just Maeve. She was practically inseparable from that strange old elder who visited a few weeks ago. He had the most fascinating stories, and he taught her some really interesting techniques for manifesting destiny, as he called it. She even showed me a strange charm he gave her, a small carved piece of wood with a funny knot symbol on it. She said it would help her align her fate with the Alphas. The pieces clicked into place with a sickening thud. The charm, the knot symbol, the nomadic elder, Iris. It was all connected. My sister was not an innocent victim of circumstance. She was a willing participant in the deception. A wave of profound betrayal washed over me, chilling me to the bone. The pain of the bond, which had been a dull throb, now surged with a renewed, sharper agony, reflecting the shattering of my last vestiges of hope for Iris's innocence. The truth, however bitter, was finally within my grasp. Now, I needed to expose it. The Luna ceremony loomed, less than a week away, a glittering facade over the dark undercurrents of deception. The pack house was a hive of activity, vibrant with anticipation, a stark contrast to the quiet storm brewing within me. My heart ached, a constant throb reflecting the pain of the mate bond, but now mingled with the bitter sting of betrayal. Iris, oblivious to the sword of truth I was honing, continued to float through the preparations, her laughter a mocking echo of my stolen joy. Her happiness felt like a deliberate insult, a vibrant tapestry woven from the threads of my shattered destiny. My plan began to form, a desperate, dangerous gamble that would expose the truth to the entire pack, even if it meant shattering the illusion of their newfound harmony. I needed undeniable proof, something that would cut through the enchantment and reveal the twisted reality of the bond. My mind, usually focused on the logic of the hunt, now turned to the subtle art of unraveling deception. My first step was to discreetly search Iris's belongings. It was a violation of trust, a desecration of our sisterly bond, but I reasoned that she had already violated something far more sacred. I waited for her to leave for a fitting of her Luna dress, a quiet interlude when the pack house was mostly empty. My heart pounded as I slipped into her room, the familiar scent of her lavender sachet suddenly cloying, oppressive. I searched meticulously, my gaze sweeping over her perfectly organized drawers, her neatly folded clothes. My eyes landed on the small, leather-bound journal I had noticed her carrying. It was tucked beneath her pillow, almost as an afterthought. My fingers trembled as I opened it, the brittle pages filled with Iris's neat, hurried script. It wasn't a diary in the traditional sense, but a record of her encounters with the nomadic elder. She had meticulously transcribed his instructions, his arcane rituals, and the precise incantations needed to align one's destiny with another. There were diagrams, symbols of forced binding, and chilling details of the specific spell used to reroute the mate bond. My blood ran cold as I read the elder's chilling advice. The true bond cannot be broken, but it can be veiled, redirected to the desired vessel in the moment of snapping. The effect is temporary, lasting until the true bond receiver asserts their claim, or until the deception unravels under the weight of cosmic truth. It was all there, laid bare. The malevolence, the calculation, the horrifying betrayal. My sister had orchestrated this, willing accomplice to a crime against destiny itself. I carefully photographed the relevant pages with my phone, the evidence secured. This was the proof I needed, but it wasn't enough. I needed to present it in a way that couldn't be dismissed, a way that would force the truth into the open. My next step involved consulting with Elder Maeve once more. This time, I went directly to her, the pretense of a headache remedy long gone. I laid out the journal pages, the photographic evidence, before her, my voice low and steady despite the tremor in my hands. Maeve studied the pages, her eyes widening with a profound sadness and anger. "This is dark magic, Lyra," she whispered, her voice filled with a chilling solemnity. "A corruption of the highest order. The elder, he is a shadow weaver, a practitioner of forbidden arts. He uses the power of others for his own twisted gain. And your sister, she willingly participated." Her gaze met mine, brimming with sympathy. "The pain you feel is the true bond screaming to be recognized. It is your right, Lyra. Your destiny. How can I expose it?" I asked, my voice raw with urgency. "How can I break the illusion?" Maeve's eyes gleamed with a fierce resolve. "The deception is strongest at the moment of the bond's assertion, when the alpha believes he has found his mate, but it is also weakest when faced with undeniable truth. The charm," she explained, pointing to a diagram in the journal. "It acts as a conduit, a focal point for the Baya. Redirection. Destroy the charm, and the illusion will shatter. But it must be done at the precise moment of truth, when the Alpha's focus is on the bond, when his wolf is reaching out. My mind raced. The Luna ceremony. It was the only time. The moment when Orion would outwardly declare his bond to Iris. That was when I would strike. But destroying the charm would not be easy. Iris would have it on her. I needed to be close, intimately close, without raising suspicion. My plan began to take shape, a dangerous, intricately timed maneuver. I would attend the ceremony, blending into the crowd. When Orion reached for Iris, when the air crackled with the announcement of the bond, I would make my move. The charm, the physical manifestation of the deception, would be my target. My final preparations involved a quiet visit to the pack armory. Not for weapons, but for a tiny, almost invisible wire, as fine as a hair, yet strong as steel. It would be my tool, my unseen weapon against the false bond. I practiced, meticulously, tying intricate knots, testing its strength. It had to be precise, quick, and utterly silent. The days leading up to the ceremony were agonizing. I avoided Iris, my grief and anger too raw to conceal. She noticed my distance, her expressions shifting from mild concern to a subtle defensiveness. I knew she suspected something, but she couldn't possibly fathom the depth of my knowledge, the terrible truth I held. The night of the Luna ceremony arrived, a blanket of stars shimmering above the ceremonial grounds. The air, usually charged with joy, felt heavy with a sense of impending confrontation, at least to me. The pack gathered, their faces alight with festive anticipation, oblivious to the storm about to break. Orion, majestic in his formal attire, stood on the ceremonial stone, his golden eyes sweeping over the crowd, searching, waiting. Iris, radiant in a gown of woven moonlight, ascended the steps to stand beside him. A small, carved wooden charm, hanging subtly from a delicate chain around her neck, glowing faintly in the torchlight. My heart pounded, a drumbeat of destiny. The fate of the pack, the truth of the mate bond, and my own stolen future, all rested on this one desperate night. The drumming began, a deep, resonant rhythm that pulsed through the very earth beneath our paws, signaling the commencement of the Luna ceremony. The pack, gathered in a solemn circle around the ceremonial stone, was hushed, their faces illuminated by the flickering torchlight, their eyes fixed on Alpha Orion and my sister Iris. The air crackled with anticipation, thick with the scent of pine and the subtle musk of nervous wolves. My own senses were heightened, every sound, every scent, every whisper of the wind, amplified by the searing pain of the bond, now a constant, agonizing throb within my chest. Iris stood beside Orion, her hand resting delicately on his arm, her eyes shining with a joy that felt utterly alien to me. The small carved wooden charm, adorned with the knot symbol, hung prominently around her neck, a beacon of the deception. It seemed to pulse faintly in the torchlight, its deceptive magic working its subtle influence, drawing Orion's focus, obscuring the truth. My wolf, restless and agitated, snarled within me, eager for justice, desperate for release from the agonizing tether. Alpha Orion, his golden eyes sweeping over the assembled pack, then settling on Iris, began the traditional Luna vows. His voice, deep and resonant, spoke of protection, of loyalty, of the sacred bond that was about to be officially declared. Each word, meant to be a comfort, was a fresh wound to my soul, a testament to the depth of the deception. The crowd murmured in approval, their faces reflecting the shared joy of the pack. As Orion reached the crescendo of his vows, his hand gently raising to cup Iris's cheek, the air around them shimmered. It was the precursor to the final snap, the moment the bond would outwardly solidify, declaring Iris as his Luna to the world. This was my moment. My heart hammered against my ribs, a wild drumbeat of fear and resolve. I had positioned myself carefully, just behind Iris, seemingly lost in the crowd, my movements fluid and unnoticed. As Orion's hand lifted, as the subtle shimmer intensified, I acted. My movements were swift, precise, born of years of training and a lifetime of being a hunter. My hand, holding the fine, nearly invisible wire, darted out, a blur of motion. I hooked the wire around the delicate chain of the charm, pulling with a controlled yet decisive snap. The charm, its delicate wood cracking with a faint pop, broke free from Iris's neck, falling silently to the ceremonial stone. A small, insignificant piece of wood, stripped of its malevolent power. The effect was instantaneous and cataclysmic. A violent tremor, not of joy, but of profound disruption, ripped through the pack. The shimmering aura around Orion and Iris shattered, dissipating like smoke. The intense magnetic pull that had drawn Orion to Iris abruptly recoiled, as if struck by an invisible force. The deceptive bond, severed from its conduit, shrieked in agony, a high-pitched, discordant wail that resonated deep within me, then abruptly ceased, leaving a profound, unsettling void in its wake. Orion, his hand still suspended in the air, his golden eyes wide with shock, swayed as if struck. His head snapped towards me, his gaze piercing through the dissolving remnants of the illusion. The confusion in his eyes was replaced by a dawning, shattering realization. He looked at me, truly looked at me, and in that moment, the true mate bond, raw and powerful, snapped between us with an undeniable force. This time, there was no redirection, no forced swerve. It was pure, unadulterated recognition, a jolt of incandescent belonging that resonated deep within my very soul, obliterating the lingering agony of the distorted tether. My wolf howled, not in sorrow, but in triumphant vindication, a cry of pure, unbridled joy. The pack gasped, their collective breath hitching as they witnessed the impossible. The Alpha, his gaze fixed on me, now extended his hand, not to Iris, but to me. The raw power of the true bond surged through the air, an undeniable force that pulled him towards me, irrevocably, powerfully. Iris, her face ashen, her eyes wide with terror, stared at the broken charm on the stone, then at me, her gaze filled with a chilling mixture of fear and pure, unadulterated hatred. She understood. The deception was exposed. The celebratory silence of the pack had morphed into a stunned, disbelieving hush. All eyes were on me, then on the broken charm, then back to Iris, then to Orion, who was now striding towards me, his face etched with a complex blend of shock, confusion, and the undeniable pull of the true mate, bond. He reached me, his large hands gently cupping my face, his golden eyes searching mine, filled with a profound questioning. "Lyra?" he whispered, his voice hoarse, disbelieving, as if seeing me for the first time. The touch sent a jolt of pure connection through me, a surge of healing energy that began to mend the deep wounds of the past weeks. I simply nodded, my heart overflowing with a bitter triumph, my wolf purring with contentment. The truth was out, the deception was shattered, and my destiny, stolen and almost lost, had finally, irrevocably, found its way home. The Luna ceremony, once a celebration of deception, had become a crucible of truth. irrevocably altering the fate of the Crescent Moon Pack. The aftermath of the Luna ceremony was a maelstrom of shock, disbelief, and simmering tension. The pack, usually a cohesive unit, was now fractured, reeling from the raw, undeniable display of manipulated destiny. Whispers, laced with confusion and betrayal, rippled through the gathered wolves. Elders huddled, their faces grim, trying to comprehend the unprecedented violation of a sacred bond. Alpha Orion, still visibly shaken by the abrupt shattering of the illusion, and the undeniable snap of his true bond to me, called an immediate, emergency council meeting. The ceremonial grounds, which moments ago had been filled with festive anticipation, now crackled with the heavy weight of impending judgment. Iris, her face a mask of furious denial and terror, had been led away by a few bewildered pack members, her protestations echoing hollowly in the sudden silence. In the Alpha's private study, the air was thick with the scent of aged parchment and the metallic tang of unspoken accusations. Orion paced, his powerful frame radiating a barely contained fury. Elder Maeve, her eyes holding a profound sorrow, stood beside me, a silent pillar of support. General Davies, the pack's lead warrior and a man of unwavering loyalty, stood by Orion, his face grim, his hand resting instinctively on the hilt of his ceremonial dagger. "Explain, Lyra," Orion commanded, his voice deep, his tone devoid of his usual warmth, replaced by a raw demand for truth. "Explain what just happened. Explain why my bond, why I felt that pull towards Iris, and why, in that moment, it shattered and found you." His golden eyes, usually calm and discerning, now burned with a mixture of confusion, anger, and a flicker of the primal connection that now bound us. I took a deep breath, steeling myself. The truth, however painful, had to be laid bare. I presented the photographic evidence from Iris's journal, the pages detailing the rituals, the incantations, the Elder's instructions. Elder Maeve corroborated my findings, explaining the dark magic involved, the historical context of the forbidden arts, and the severe consequences of such manipulation. She spoke of the Shadow Weaver, the nomadic elder, and his sinister purpose in aiding such a deception. Orion listened, his face hardening with each revelation. The initial confusion in his eyes slowly transformed into a cold, righteous fury. The realization that he, the Alpha, had been manipulated, his primal instincts twisted, was a profound blow to his pride and his very being. The violation of the mate bond, the sacred connection he held so dear, fueled a rage that vibrated through the room. Iris was a willing participant, I stated, my voice steady, though my heart ached with the painful truth. She sought out the elder, she paid him, and she performed the rituals. She wanted to be Luna, no matter the cost, no matter whose destiny she shattered. General Davies, his eyes fixed on the photographic evidence, snarled, "To tamper with the mate bond, this is an unforgivable offense, a crime against the moon goddess herself." Orion stopped pacing, his gaze settling on me. The raw, undeniable power of our true bond hummed between us, a stark contrast to the betrayal that had just been uncovered. "And the pain, Lyra," he said, his voice softer now, tinged with a devastating realization, the agony you must have endured feeling the bond snap to you, then watching it be diverted. His hand reached out, brushing my arm, a gentle, comforting touch that sent shivers of healing through me. My wolf purred, finally finding solace in the undeniable presence of its true mate. The full weight of the emotional and spiritual torment I had endured for weeks settled on the room. The understanding in Orion's eyes was a balm to my aching soul. The next morning, the pack gathered again, not for celebration, but for judgment. Iris, escorted by two of the pack's sternest warriors, was brought before Orion and the council. Her face was pale, her defiance replaced by a chilling terror as she faced the cold, unwavering gaze of her alpha and the silent, condemning stares of her pack. Orion, standing tall on the ceremonial stone, his voice ringing with authority, laid out the evidence, calmly, methodically. He explained the manipulation of the mate bond, the involvement of the Shadow Weaver, and Iris's willing participation. The murmurs of the pack grew louder, evolving from confusion to outrage. Iris, cornered, finally broke. She didn't deny it. Instead, she lashed out, her voice raw with desperation. "It wasn't fair! You ignored me! I always loved you, Orion. I deserve to be Luna. Why her? Why not me?" Her desperate pleas and accusations only served to further solidify the pack's condemnation. The pack was built on honesty and integrity, and her blatant attempt to subvert their most sacred tradition was an unforgivable transgression. The council's judgment was swift and severe. For tampering with the sacred mate bond, for deceiving the Alpha and the entire pack, Iris was stripped of her pack status. She was banished from the Crescent Moon territory, an exile that would sever her from her lineage, her family, and her very identity as a wolf. It was a harsh sentence, a life without a pack, without the protection of her kind, but it was deemed necessary to restore the balance and sanctity of their traditions. My parents, heartbroken and ashamed, watched in silent agony as their daughter, their once radiant Luna 2B, was led away, her pleas fading into the silence of the forest. Orion then turned to me, his golden eyes filled with a tenderness that made my heart ache. He spoke of the true mate bond, the one that had finally found its rightful place, the one that would unite us for eternity. He spoke of healing, of rebuilding trust, and of leading the pack together, as true mates, as Alpha and Luna. The pack, witnessing the genuine connection between us, the pure, unadulterated joy that now emanated from Orion, began to murmur their approval, their previous shock giving way to a profound sense of rightness. I stood beside him, my hand in his, the undeniable hum of our bond thrumming between us, a warm, comforting presence. The pain in my chest, which had been a constant companion, finally began to recede, replaced by a profound sense of peace and belonging. My journey had been arduous, marked by betrayal and torment, but it had led me here, to my true destiny, to my rightful place beside the Alpha, ready to embrace a future I had almost lost. The Crescent Moon Pack, scarred but ultimately strengthened by the ordeal, began its slow process of healing, ready to embrace a future built on truth, not deception. The days that followed Iris's banishment were a delicate dance of healing and reintegration for the Crescent Moon Pack. The celebratory air that had initially been so abruptly extinguished now slowly, tentatively, began to return, tinged with a quiet solemnity. The pack had been shaken to its core, their most sacred tradition violated, but the truth, however painful, had ultimately set them free from the insidious grip of deception. My own healing was a gradual process, a quiet mending of the wounds inflicted by the twisted bond. The constant throb of agony in my chest had receded to a faint ache, a phantom limb of a pain that was no longer physically present but lingered in the periphery of my memory. The true mate bond with Orion, however, pulsed with a vibrant, unwavering warmth, a constant source of comfort and strength. It was a deep, reassuring hum that resonated in my very bones, an undeniable sense of belonging that settled into every fiber of my being. Orion was a constant, steady presence by my side. He was patient, understanding, and fiercely protective. He spent hours simply holding me, his strong arms a sanctuary, his presence a balm to my still recovering spirit. He listened to my quiet fears, the lingering doubts about how the pack would perceive me, the one whose sister had caused such a profound rift. He reassured me, his golden eyes reflecting an unwavering belief in me, in us. "You are my fated mate, Lyra," he would whisper, his voice raw with conviction. "The moon goddess chose you. No deception can ever change that truth." His words were a powerful balm, slowly erasing the insidious doubts planted by Iris's actions. My parents, their faces etched with a profound sorrow over Iris's banishment, slowly began to reconnect with me. They were heartbroken, of course, grieving for the daughter they had lost to ambition and the shame she had brought upon their family. But they also recognized the injustice I had suffered, and their love for me, their true Luna, shone through their grief. My mother, her eyes red-rimmed from tears, would often sit with me, gently stroking my hair, murmuring quiet apologies for their unwitting blindness to Iris's deception. My father, a man of few words, would simply pull me into a tight embrace, his silent strength a powerful comfort. The pack's reintegration was also a slow process. While the vast majority had accepted the council's decision and celebrated the true mate bond, there were always whispers, undercurrents of doubt and confusion. Some of the younger wolves, those less attuned to the ancient ways, struggled to grasp the complex nuances of mate bond manipulation. A few, perhaps loyal to Iris before her true nature was revealed, held lingering resentment. But Orion addressed these subtle fissures with the wisdom and strength of a true alpha. He convened open forums, allowing pack members to voice their concerns, their confusion, their grief. He spoke eloquently of the sanctity of the mate bond, of the dangers of ambition unchecked by moral compass, and of the profound importance of truth in maintaining the harmony of the pack. I, too, spoke, my voice gaining strength with each public address. I shared my own pain, the agony of the twisted bond, and the slow, arduous path to uncovering the truth. I spoke not with anger, but with a quiet dignity, emphasizing the healing power of honesty and the unwavering strength of the true mate connection. My vulnerability resonated with many, forging new bonds of empathy and understanding within the pack. Elder Maeve, always a silent, knowing presence, supported us, her wisdom a guiding light, reminding the pack of the ancient prophecies and the undeniable will of the moon goddess. Weeks turned into months. The scent of spring began to replace the last vestiges of winter, bringing with it a sense of renewal and growth. My bond with Orion deepened with each passing day, intertwining our souls in a tapestry of shared understanding, mutual respect, and an undeniable, fiery passion. We spent hours in wolf form, running through the ancient forest, our two bodies moving as one, a symphony of powerful grace. These runs were more than just physical exercise. They were a spiritual communion, a reaffirmation of our primal connection, a silent balm to the lingering scars of past trauma. We began our preparations for the official Luna ceremony. A quiet, intimate affair this time, stripped of the grandiosity that had marked the previous, ill-fated attempt. It was to be a celebration of truth, of healing, and of a genuine bond. I worked closely with Orion, learning the intricate duties of a Luna, understanding the complexities of pack management, the delicate balance of justice and compassion. I found a surprising strength within myself, a natural affinity for leadership, and a deep, innate desire to serve my pack. Orion, in turn, respected my opinions, valued my insights, and encouraged my strengths. Our partnership was truly egalitarian, a balance of power that promised a strong and harmonious future for the Crescent Moon Pack. One quiet afternoon, as Orion and I walked through the packlands, discussing strategies for increasing hunting yields, we came across a small, withered patch of forest. The trees were sickly, their leaves discolored, the earth beneath them barren. A faint, discordant energy emanated from the area, a subtle wrongness that pricked at my senses. "What is this place?" I asked, my brow furrowing. It felt unhealthy. Orion's face hardened. "It's where the Shadow Weaver, the elder who helped Iris, performed his rituals. The magic he wielded, the dark arts he practiced, they drain the life from the land. It's a blight, a scar on our territory." He spoke with a deep sense of revulsion. The effects of the forbidden magic were not just emotional or spiritual. They were physical, leaving tangible wounds on the natural world. I felt a surge of cold fury. This was the true cost of Iris's ambition, the ripple effect of her desperate grab for power. The physical manifestation of the corruption was a stark reminder of the insidious nature of the dark arts. My focus shifted. The removal of the charm had severed the false bond and exposed the truth, but the taint of the Shadow Weaver's magic, the residual energy of the corruption, still lingered. It wasn't enough to simply expose the lie we had to cleanse the territory, to truly heal the pack, and to prevent such an insidious force from ever taking root again. I spent hours with Elder Maeve, learning about purification rituals, about the ancient ways of healing tainted land. It was a painstaking process, requiring deep communion with the earth, channeling the restorative power of the moon goddess, and performing intricate chants and offerings. Orion joined me, his powerful wolf form a grounding presence, his unwavering belief in me a source of strength. Together, we worked tirelessly, pouring our combined energy into restoring the blighted land, slowly, painstakingly. As the weeks passed, a subtle shift began to occur. The sickly trees showed faint signs of life, tiny green shoots emerging from barren branches. The earth, once dry and lifeless, slowly regained its vibrancy, a testament to the power of pure, healing magic. The process was slow, but it was a tangible symbol of the pack's resilience, their unwavering commitment to overcoming the darkness that had briefly threatened to consume them. It was a cleansing, not just of the land, but of the pack's collective spirit, a powerful act of reaffirmation of their values. The healing of the land mirrored the healing of my own soul. Each act of purification, each chant, each offering, was a step towards reclaiming my inner peace, towards fully embracing my destiny as Luna. The pain of the past, though still a part of my story, no longer defined me. It had become a source of strength, a crucible that had forged me into a stronger, more resilient leader. My bond with Orion, tested and affirmed, grew deeper, more profound, an unbreakable tether that anchored us both to a future built on truth, love, and unwavering commitment to the Crescent Moon Pack. The scar on the land, slowly fading, would serve as a permanent reminder, a cautionary tale of the dangers of ambition unchecked by integrity, and the enduring power of a love truly chosen by fate. The Luna ceremony, held under the ethereal glow of a rising full moon, was a stark contrast to the dramatic spectacle of months prior. It was an intimate gathering, witnessed only by the inner circle of the pack, the elders, and those who had truly stood by our side. The air was thick with genuine emotion, not forced celebration. The scent of purification herbs mingled with the crisp autumn breeze, a testament to the cleansing that had taken place. My heart swelled with a quiet, profound joy, a sense of rightness that permeated every fiber of my being. I stood beside Orion on the ceremonial stone, now vibrant with renewed energy, its surface gleaming under the moonlight. My dress, simple and elegant, was woven from threads the color of moonlight, a subtle nod to the enduring power of the moon goddess. Orion's hand, warm and strong, held mine, the true mate bond thrumming between us, a powerful, undeniable hum that vibrated through the very core of my being. His golden eyes, filled with an unwavering love and fierce devotion, met mine, and in their depths I saw our shared future, clear and bright. Elder Maeve, her face serene, her eyes sparkling with wisdom, led the traditional vows. She spoke of the sacred bond, of destiny fulfilled, and of the unwavering strength found in truth. As Orion pledged his life, his wolf, and his heart to me, a powerful surge of energy enveloped us, the true mate bond solidifying into an unbreakable, luminous connection that encompassed not just us, but the entire pack. It was a moment of profound unity, a reassertion of the natural order. My own vows, spoken from the depths of my soul, resonated with a clarity and conviction I had never known. I pledged my loyalty, my strength, and my unwavering love to Orion and to the Crescent Moon Pack, embracing my destiny as their Luna. The cheers that followed were not a cacophony of superficial joy, but a deep, resonant roar of acceptance and profound belonging. The pack, finally healed, finally whole, embraced their true Luna, their voices echoing with genuine happiness and relief. My parents, their faces tear-streaked but beaming with pride, embraced me, their unspoken apologies mingling with their profound love. It was a moment of ultimate vindication, a testament to the resilience of the human and wolf spirit. My role as Luna quickly became a natural extension of my true self. I immersed myself in pack duties, working tirelessly alongside Orion. My experience as a hunter proved invaluable in organizing hunting parties and ensuring the pack's sustenance. My inherent analytical mind, honed by my journey to uncover the truth, was perfectly suited for mediating disputes, interpreting pack law, and advising Orion on complex decisions. I found a deep satisfaction in serving my pack, in nurturing its members, and in upholding the values of honesty and integrity that had been so brutally challenged. Orion and I were a formidable team, our strengths complementing each other seamlessly. He was the unwavering anchor, the fierce protector, the embodiment of power and tradition. I was the intuitive guide, the compassionate listener, the one who sought truth and fostered healing. Our bond, once threatened, had blossomed into an unshakable foundation, enriching not just our lives, but the lives of every wolf in the Crescent Moon Pack. We led with transparency, with open hearts, and with a shared vision for a future built on trust and mutual respect. The blighted patch of forest, once a stark reminder of the Shadow Weaver's corruption, continued its slow, steady process of healing. The trees, now vibrant with new growth, whispered tales of resilience in the breeze. It served as a silent, yet powerful, symbol for the pack, a reminder of the darkness they had faced and the enduring power of their collective spirit to overcome adversity. We held regular communal rituals there, ceremonies of cleansing and renewal, reinforcing the pack's connection to the land and their commitment to truth. Iris, banished and stripped of her pack status, became a cautionary tale, a somber warning against the dangers of unchecked ambition and the insidious lure of forbidden magic. Her fate, a life of solitary wandering, stripped of her identity as a wolf, served as a stark reminder of the severe consequences of tampering with destiny. Her name was rarely spoken, and when it was with a mixture of sadness and grim determination, a resolve that such a deception would never again be tolerated within the Crescent Moon Pack. The memory of her betrayal, though painful, slowly faded into a distant echo, replaced by the vibrant reality of a pack healed and whole. Years passed. The Crescent Moon Pack flourished under our leadership. New generations of wolves were born, raised in a world where truth and integrity were paramount. Our own family grew. 2 beautiful pups, a boy and a girl, their eyes shining with the golden hue of their father and the violet depths of their mother. Inheriting the strength of our combined lineage, they were taught the importance of loyalty, of honesty, and of the sacredness of the mate bond. Lessons learned from the crucible of our own journey. As I watched Orion, strong and unwavering, his golden eyes filled with an abiding love, I often thought of that fateful mating ceremony under the full moon. The confusion, the pain, the profound sense of loss. But then, the undeniable snap, the sudden realization of my true destiny. It had been a harrowing journey, one filled with betrayal and anguish, but it had led me here, to a life richer and more fulfilling than I could have ever imagined. My stolen mate had been returned, my destiny reclaimed, and in the process, I had found my true strength, my unwavering purpose, and my rightful place as the Luna of the Crescent Moon Pack, forever bound by truth, by love, and by the undeniable will of the moon goddess. The tapestry of our lives, once tangled by deception, was now woven with threads of resilience, love, and an enduring sense of belonging, shining brightly under the benevolent gaze of the crescent moon. The pack's equilibrium had been restored, but the scars of the past, though fading, were still present. The incident with Iris had forced us to confront not only the vulnerabilities of the mate bond, but also the potential for malice within their own kind. Orion and I made it a priority to strengthen the pack's defenses, not just against external threats, but also against the subtle corruptions that could arise from within. This meant more rigorous vetting of new pack members, a renewed emphasis on ethical conduct, and the establishment of a council of elders specifically tasked with safeguarding ancient traditions and identifying potential deviations from their sacred ways. Elder Maeve, with her profound wisdom, became a central figure in this new safeguarding council, her intuitive senses now even more crucial. I spearheaded educational initiatives, focusing on the younger generations. We organized workshops on the true meaning of the mate bond, emphasizing its spiritual sanctity and the catastrophic consequences of attempting to manipulate it. Stories of past betrayals, including the recent one, were shared not to instill fear, but to impart wisdom and reinforce the pack's core values of honesty, integrity, and respect for fate. These sessions were designed to be interactive, encouraging open dialogue and critical thinking, fostering a generation of wolves who understood the profound responsibility that came with their gifts. My own personal growth mirrored the pack's journey. The pain of the false bond had left a deep imprint, but it had also sharpened my senses, making me more attuned to subtle deceptions, more empathetic to hidden suffering. This newfound sensitivity proved invaluable in my role as Luna. I found myself able to discern unspoken anxieties among pack members, to mediate disputes with a deeper understanding of underlying motivations, and to offer guidance that resonated on a more profound level. My connection to the moon goddess, once an abstract concept, had become a tangible force, a guiding presence that flowed through my veins, enhancing my intuition and strengthening my resolve. Life within the Crescent Moon Pack settled into a rhythm of peace and prosperity. The once blighted land flourished, a testament to the enduring power of healing and unity. The vibrant green of the new growth seemed to pulse with life, mirroring the renewed vitality of the pack itself. Hunters returned with bountiful catches, healers honed their craft, and the laughter of pups echoed through the renovated pack house. Our own children, growing quickly, brought immense joy, their innocent questions and boundless energy a constant reminder of the bright future we were building. One crisp autumn evening, as Orion and I watched our children playing in the pack grounds, bathed in the soft glow of the setting sun, he turned to me, his golden eyes filled with a quiet contentment. "We've built something remarkable, Lyra," he murmured, his hand finding mine, the familiar thrum of our bond a comforting presence. "A pack stronger, more resilient than ever before." I leaned my head on his shoulder, gazing at the joyous scene before us. "It wasn't easy," I admitted, a faint smile playing on my lips. "But every challenge, every hardship, has made us stronger. And the truth, however painful, always sets us free." The memory of Iris, once a sharp sting, now felt distant, almost ethereal. Her banishment had created a void, but it had also allowed the pack to purify itself, to shed the deception and embrace its true path. Her absence was a constant reminder of the consequences of straying from the sacred ways, but it no longer held the power to inflict pain. The story of the Luna's truth became an integral part of Crescent Moon Pack lore, passed down through generations, a powerful narrative of resilience, betrayal, and ultimate triumph. It spoke not just of a mate bond stolen and reclaimed, but of the pack's unwavering commitment to their core values, their ability to confront darkness, and their enduring faith in the benevolent power of the moon goddess. Our journey as Alpha and Muna continued, marked by unwavering dedication and a profound love that deepened with each passing season. We faced new challenges, guided our pack through lean winters and bountiful summers, always upholding the principles of honesty and truth. The mate bond, a sacred gift, remained the unbreakable anchor of our lives, a luminous testament to a destiny fought for and finally, fully embraced. The Crescent Moon Pack, under our guidance, prospered, a beacon of strength and integrity in a world that always sought balance. And I, Lyra, once just a sister hoping for fate to choose her, now stood as the Luna, a guardian of truth, forever bound by love and destiny. The passage of seasons brought a new kind of wisdom to the Crescent Moon Pack. Orion and I had not only solidified our bond and the pack's foundation, but had also begun to anticipate challenges from beyond our borders. News traveled, even in the insulated world of werewolf packs, and the story of the manipulated mate bond had, inevitably, reached neighboring territories. While some packs offered sympathy and admiration for our handling of the crisis, others saw it as a sign of weakness, an internal vulnerability to be exploited. My heightened senses, now finely tuned from my past ordeal, began to pick up subtle shifts in the air, a faint unease that suggested more than just natural changes. It was a lingering scent, almost imperceptible to others, but clear to me. The faint, metallic tang of unease, a precursor to unwelcome intrusion. Orion, ever vigilant, noticed my increasingly frequent shifts into wolf form during our patrols, my fur bristling at sounds he couldn't yet discern. "What is it, Lyra?" he would ask, his voice low, his golden eyes searching mine. "Your wolf is restless," A feeling, I'd reply, truthfully but vaguely, not wanting to cause undue alarm without concrete evidence. A shadow on the horizon. The kind that reminds me that not all darkness is within our own pack. The whispers grew into tangible signs. Hunters reported strange markings on trees at the edges of our territory, symbols not of our pack, nor of any known friendly alliance. Patrols encountered unfamiliar scents that lingered, not aggressive, but undeniably foreign. We also began to notice a slight increase in unexplained disappearances of smaller game, a subtle imbalance in the ecosystem that suggested external interference. It wasn't direct confrontation, but a probing, a testing of our boundaries. Orion, with his deep understanding of pack politics and inter-pack relations, convened a meeting with his most trusted warriors and elders. General Davies, now a steadfast pillar of loyalty, presented the evidence gathered by our patrols. Elder Maeve, her brow furrowed in concern, spoke of ancient prophecies that warned of covetous neighbors, packs who sought to expand their territory not through strength, but through deception and subtle infiltration. Her words painted a picture of wolves who preyed on perceived weakness, exploiting internal strife. My contribution to these discussions was different. I spoke of the psychological warfare, the subtle manipulation I had experienced firsthand. They will come howling at our borders immediately, I explained, gesturing to the strategic maps spread across the table. They'll test our cohesion. They'll try to sow discord, to find any lingering cracks from past events. They might even try to exploit the very narrative of the manipulated bond, twisting it to suggest weakness or even unworthiness in our leadership. Orion nodded, his expression grim. The whispers about Iris, he mused. Some packs, particularly the Shadowfang, have always been opportunists. They see a chink in our armor where there is none. The Shadowfang pack, a reclusive and notoriously aggressive group, had long been rumored to dabble in darker, less honorable practices. Driven by a relentless thirst for expansion, they rarely engaged in open warfare, preferring to destabilize rivals from within before striking. My mind, however, kept returning to the Elder, the Shadow Weaver who had helped Iris. Had he truly vanished? Or was he merely a pawn in a larger game, his dark talents employed by others? The residual energy of his magic had tainted our land, suggesting a deeper connection than a mere one-time transaction. The thought was chilling. If such forbidden magic could be wielded against a mate bond, what other ancient, destructive forces could be unleashed? The external pressure manifested in insidious ways. Small acts of sabotage began to occur. Hunting traps tampered with, water sources subtly diverted, and vital pack supplies mysteriously vanishing. It was never enough to cause severe harm, but enough to create unease, to sow seeds of doubt, and to test the limits of our vigilance. The pack, however, under Orion's steady leadership and my intuitive guidance, remained cohesive. We implemented new security protocols, increased patrols, and fostered an even stronger sense of community and mutual support, countering every subtle act of aggression with unity. One cold, moonless night, a scout returned from the northern border, his face pale with shock. He had encountered a lone wolf, not aggressive but unsettling. The wolf had spoken, not in growls or howls, but in clear, human words, whispering about Lyra's tainted claim and the Alpha's true, denied destiny. The scout, unnerved, couldn't pinpoint the origin of the words, only that they felt wrong, like a distortion in the natural flow of communication. My blood ran cold. This was more than mere probing. This was psychological warfare, directly targeting the most painful part of our pack's recent history. It was a deliberate attempt to weaponize Iris's actions, to reignite old wounds, to undermine my legitimacy as Luna. Orion's fury was a tangible force in the room. "They're trying to divide us," he snarled, his wolf close to the surface. "They're trying to make us doubt our own strength, our own truth." "But who?" General Davies questioned, his eyes narrowed. "And how are they able to project thoughts, or words, like that?" Elder Maeve, her eyes distant, her face grim, spoke in a low voice. "This is not common pack magic. This is a manifestation of deeper, darker arts. The Shadow Weaver, if he lives, has powerful patrons. Or perhaps he has taught others his twisted craft." The Shadowfang Pack is known for their shadowy practices, their willingness to employ forbidden means to achieve their ends. My mind raced. The whispered words, the insidious nature of the attack, it all pointed back to the subtle manipulation I had experienced. It was the same deceptive energy, only amplified, projected outwardly to target the entire pack's psyche. It was a dangerous escalation, a direct threat not just to our physical security, but to the very fabric of our unity. "We need to find the source," I declared, my voice firm, my heart resolute. "We cannot let them erode our trust from within. We cannot let them define our past or our future." Orion's gaze met mine, a silent understanding passing between us. He knew the risks, the profound danger of confronting such dark magic, but he also knew that the true strength of a pack lay not just in its fangs and claws, but in its unwavering spirit, its unshakable truth. And that truth, for the Crescent Moon Pack, was me, Lyra, his true Luna, forged in the crucible of deception, now ready to face whatever shadows dared to challenge our light. The psychological attacks escalated in frequency and intensity. Phantom whispers carried on the wind, subtly twisting pack gossip into insidious rumors designed to sow distrust. Minor ailments, unusual fatigue, and unsettling dreams became more common, particularly among the younger, more impressionable wolves. It was a slow poison, an attempt to erode the pack's morale and cohesion from the inside out. We were fighting an invisible enemy, one that sought to break our spirit rather than our bones. Orion and I spent countless hours strategizing, trying to decipher the enemy's patterns, to anticipate their next move. We strengthened our mental defenses, teaching the pack members how to shield their minds, how to recognize and deflect the insidious whispers. Elder Maeve led daily rituals of purification and strengthening, reinforcing the pack's spiritual resilience, but the constant pressure was taking its toll. The wariness in Orion's golden eyes grew more pronounced, and even my own usually boundless energy felt a constant drain. My focus, however, remained razor-sharp, particularly on the lingering presence of the Shadow Weaver. I was convinced he was at the heart of these attacks, either directly orchestrating them or teaching his methods to others. His signature, that subtle distortion of reality, the insidious nature of the deception, was unmistakable. I pored over ancient texts once more, not for information on mate bonds, but for lore on shadow weavers, on their raw origins, their powers, and their vulnerabilities. One evening, as I pored over a particularly obscure scroll in the pack library, I stumbled upon a faint, almost illegible passage. It spoke of a group of rogue wolves, centuries ago, who had sought forbidden knowledge from dark spirits, trading their natural abilities for the power to manipulate perception. to create illusions, and to sow discord. They were known as the Whisperers of the Gloom, and their power was tied to places of shadowed energy, areas where the natural balance had been corrupted. The blighted patch of forest, the one still healing from the elders' rituals, flashed in my mind. It was a place of shadowed energy, a potential conduit for such dark arts. The scroll further detailed that the Whisperers of the Gloom, while powerful in deception, were vulnerable to pure, uncorrupted energy. Their illusions shattered when confronted with unwavering truth, particularly truth channeled through a true mate bond, a connection blessed by the moon goddess herself. This detail sent a surge of hope through me. My bond with Orion, forged in adversity and purified by honesty, was exactly that: pure, uncorrupted energy. I immediately brought my findings to Orion and Elder Maeve. Orion listened intently, his expression shifting from grim determination to a dawning understanding. The Whisperers of the Gloom, he murmured, "We thought them mere legends." "Legends often hold grains of truth, Alpha," Maeve said, her eyes fixed on the ancient text. "And this shadow weaver matches their description precisely. His power lies in deception, in twisting reality. And the stronger the truth, the more vulnerable he becomes." My plan began to form, a daring counterattack that would turn their own weapons against them. We couldn't fight an invisible enemy with brute force. We had to expose their lies, to shatter their illusions with the undeniable force of truth. And the perfect place to do it was the blighted patch of forest, the very source of their corrupted energy. "We need to draw them out," I proposed, my voice firm with newfound resolve. "We need to challenge their illusions directly, at their source. We need to confront the Shadow Weaver, wherever he is, and break his hold over our pack and over our land." Orion's golden eyes met mine, a silent conversation passing between us. He understood the profound risk, the danger of facing a practitioner of dark arts on their own corrupted ground. But he also saw the necessity, the only path to truly ending this insidious threat. "How do we draw them out?" General Davies asked, his hand instinctively reaching for the hilt of his dagger. "We perform a full pack ritual of truth and unity," I explained, my voice resonating with growing conviction. "At the blighted forest, a powerful display of our bond, our strength, and our unwavering truth. It will challenge their very essence, force them to reveal themselves. It will be a beacon of pure energy in their shadow." Orion's face hardened, a fierce determination replacing the weariness. "Then we do it," he declared, his voice ringing with authority. "We confront this shadow, and we banish it forever." His gaze met mine, a powerful surge of the mate bond flowing between us, a silent promise of unwavering unity. The fight for our pack's soul, for its truth, was about to reach its final, decisive confrontation. The day of confrontation arrived under a sky the color of bruised plums, heavy with unspoken tension. The air hung thick and still over the blighted patch of forest, a stark contrast to the usual vibrant life of our territory. The area, though slowly healing, still exuded a faint, unsettling aura, a palpable sense of lingering corruption. This was where we would make our stand, where we would confront the source of the whispers and illusions that had plagued our pack. Orion had assembled the entire pack, not for battle, but for a solemn demonstration of unity and unwavering truth. The wolves stood in a wide circle around the heart of the blighted area, their faces etched with a mixture of apprehension and grim resolve. My parents, though worried, stood proudly, their faith in us unwavering. General Davies and his warriors were positioned strategically, their senses alert, ready for any physical manifestation of the enemy. Elder Maeve, her face serene, her eyes holding an ancient wisdom, stood beside me, preparing the ceremonial tools for the ritual of truth. I stood with Orion at the center of the circle, our hands clasped, the powerful hum of our mate bond resonating between us, a tangible force against the encroaching shadows. Our children, young but instinctively sensing the gravity of the moment, stood close to us, their small hands clutching our fur, their innocent presence a powerful reminder of what we were fighting for. Orion addressed the pack, his voice strong and clear, cutting through the heavy silence. Today, we face not a physical enemy, but a shadow, an entity that seeks to sow discord, to twist truth, and to break our spirit. They prey on doubt, on fear, on any lingering vulnerability. But we are the Crescent Moon Pack. We are united by blood, by loyalty, and by the unbreakable bond of truth. His words instilled a fresh wave of courage and resolve throughout the assembled wolves. As Elder Maeve began the ancient chants of purification, her voice rising and falling in rhythmic patterns, a profound shift occurred in the atmosphere. The faint, discordant energy emanating from the blighted land began to pulse, to intensify, as if disturbed by the pure energy of the ritual. The air grew colder, heavier, and subtle distortions began to manifest at the edges of our vision. Shadows seemed to deepen, to writhe, and faint, insidious whispers slithered on the breeze, trying to penetrate our minds, to sow old fears, old doubts. I felt a surge of nausea, the familiar sensation of manipulated reality attempting to assert its false presence. My true mate bond with Orion, however, flared brightly, a beacon of pure, unwavering light in the encroaching gloom. It was a protective shield, an anchor that grounded me, allowing me to withstand the assault of the illusions. I focused on its warmth, on its strength, letting it fuel my resolve. Suddenly, a figure materialized from the deepest shadows of the blighted patch. It was the nomadic elder, the shadow weaver, his form gaunt, his eyes burning with an unsettling, malevolent light. He was surrounded by faint, shimmering distortions, the air around him rippling with corrupt energy. His face, once deceptively benevolent, was now a mask of cold fury. He was not alone. Behind him, two other figures, cloaked in shadow, began to solidify, their forms indistinct, their presence radiating a cold, predatory aura. They were whisperers of the gloom, ancient practitioners of dark arts, drawn by the power of the ritual, or perhaps sent to protect their conduit. "You challenge powers you cannot comprehend, Luna," the elder hissed, his voice a low, raspy whisper that seemed to echo directly inside our minds, bypassing our ears. "You cling to a false truth, a stolen destiny. The Alpha's bond was meant for another. You are an imposter, a parasite. Your pack will turn on you, devoured by the lies you hide." His words were a direct assault on my deepest fears, a desperate attempt to rekindle the pain of the past, to unravel the truth we had fought so hard to reclaim. I felt a fleeting tremor of doubt, a momentary resurfacing of the agony of the stolen bond. But then, Orion's hand tightened in mine, his strength flowing into me, and the bond surged, burning away the insidious doubt. I met the elder's gaze, my own eyes blazing with a fierce, unwavering conviction. "You twisted fate," I retorted, my voice ringing clear and strong, cutting through his whispered illusions. "You betrayed sacred traditions. My bond is true, blessed by the moon goddess herself. And this pack, healed by truth, will never be deceived by your shadows." As I spoke, the power of our mate bond flared even brighter, sending ripples of pure energy outwards. The distortions around the elder flickered, wavered, and for a fleeting moment, his form seemed to shimmer, revealing a gaunt, almost skeletal figure beneath the illusion. The whisperers of the gloom, too, seemed to recoil, their shadowy forms momentarily disrupted. Orion, sensing the shift, let out a deep, powerful growl that vibrated through the earth, a primal challenge to the encroaching darkness. The pack, emboldened by our defiance, began to hum with their own collective energy, a low, resonant thrum of unity and defiance. The elder shrieked, a sound of pure agony, as our combined truth began to tear at his illusions. He launched a final, desperate attack, a concentrated wave of insidious whispers, aiming to shatter our minds. But we were ready. Orion and I stood together, our bond a blazing shield, and the pack, united in spirit, pushed back with their collective will. The energy clash was palpable, a silent battle waged between light and shadow, truth and deception. The blighted land seemed to convulse, groaning beneath the strain. The whispers intensified, becoming a cacophony of distorted thoughts and terrifying images, threatening to overwhelm us. But we held firm. I focused on the vibrant hum of my bond with Orion, on the pure, unadulterated love that flowed between us, channeling it outwards, a wave of incandescent truth. With a final, desperate cry of frustrated rage, the Shadow Weaver, his form violently flickering, began to disintegrate, his body dissolving into wisps of shadow and corrupt energy. The whisperers of the gloom, their connection to their master severed, shrieked and recoiled, their shadowy forms dissolving into nothingness, leaving behind only a faint, bitter scent of ozone. The entire blighted patch of forest seemed to exhale, the oppressive cold lifting, replaced by a fresh, clean breeze. The faint, discordant energy was gone, replaced by a gentle hum of restoration. Silence descended, a profound, peaceful silence broken only by the gentle rustle of leaves and the soft breathing of the pack. The threat was gone. The shadows had been banished. The land and the pack's spirit were finally free. Orion pulled me into a fierce embrace, his golden eyes filled with profound relief and an even deeper love. The pack erupted in cheers, their voices echoing with triumph and renewed hope. The battle for the Crescent Moon Pack's soul had been won, sealed by the undeniable power of truth and the unbreakable bond of true mates. The aftermath of the confrontation with the Shadow Weaver was not just a victory. It was a profound transformation for the Crescent Moon Pack. The blighted patch of forest, once a scar on our territory, began to heal with remarkable speed, its vibrant green growth a living testament to the power of purification and truth. The air above it, once heavy with discordant energy, now hummed with a revitalized life force, attracting smaller forest creatures back into its embrace. It became a sacred place, a quiet grove where pack members would meditate, reflecting on the strength found in honesty and unity. The psychological attacks ceased entirely. The pervasive sense of unease lifted, replaced by a renewed sense of security and well-being within the pack. The whispers on the wind were now merely the rustling of leaves, and the dreams of the young wolves were once again filled with the joyful imagery of their future. The Shadowfang pack, alerted to the utter destruction of their shadowy allies and the unexpected resilience of the Crescent Moon, retreated entirely, their probing incursions ceasing. They had underestimated our strength, underplayed the power of a bond forged in truth, and learned a bitter lesson about underestimating a Luna who had faced and overcome such profound deception. My bond with Orion, already strong, deepened even further, becoming an unshakable pillar of strength for both of us and for the pack. The shared ordeal of confronting the Shadow Weaver had forged an even more profound understanding between us, a silent language of unwavering support and absolute trust. Our leadership, already respected, now commanded a deeper reverence, born of the pack witnessing our combined courage and unwavering commitment to their well-being. I continued my role as Luna with renewed vigor, my experiences enriching my ability to lead and nurture. My intuition, already sharp, had been honed into a finely tuned instrument, allowing me to foresee potential challenges and to guide the pack with a wisdom that seemed to transcend my years. I worked tirelessly alongside Orion, not just in matters of defense and governance, but in fostering the emotional and spiritual health of every pack member. We established new traditions, ceremonies of renewal and gratitude, ensuring that the lessons learned from the Shadow Weaver's deception would never be forgotten. Elder Maeve, her ancient wisdom now more revered than ever, dedicated herself to teaching the younger generations the forgotten arts of energy purification and mental shielding. She emphasized the importance of self-awareness, of recognizing internal doubts and fears before they could be exploited by external malice. Her teachings became an integral part of pack education, ensuring that future generations would be equipped to face any challenge, seen or unseen. My parents, their faces finally free from the lingering shadow of shame, became pillars of support within the pack, their pride in me unwavering. They spoke openly and often of the lessons learned from Iris's actions, not to condemn, but to educate. Their story, and mine, became a testament to the fact that even within the closest bonds, truth must always prevail. As for Iris, her fate remained a somber, cautionary tale. Her banishment was permanent, a life lived outside the protective embrace of any pack. The knowledge of her solitary wandering, stripped of her identity as a wolf, carried a profound sadness, a reminder of the devastating consequences of ambition unchecked by moral compass. Though I had been the one to expose her deception, and though the pain she inflicted had been immense, I felt no triumph in her suffering, only a quiet, melancholy understanding that she had chosen her own painful path. The Crescent Moon Pack flourished under our rule. Our children grew, strong and true, embodying the best of both Orion and me. They learned to run with the wind, to respect the ancient traditions, and to cherish the unbreakable bonds of family and pack. They knew the story of their parents, of the stolen mate and the battle for truth, not as a source of shame, but as a powerful legacy of resilience and love. Years turned into decades. Orion and I grew older together, our fur silvering, our steps perhaps a little slower, but our bond remained as vibrant and unbreakable as the day it had finally snapped into place. We watched our children grow into strong, capable leaders, ready to take on the mantle of protecting the Crescent Moon Pack. We saw our pack thrive, a testament to the enduring power of truth, loyalty, and the sacred, undeniable connection of fated mates. My journey, from the agony of a stolen destiny to the profound peace of a life fully embraced, was a living legend, a quiet testament to the moon goddess's unwavering justice and the enduring strength of a love truly chosen by fate.